responsible for the one that Peter sent. I've only seen something that Peter sent.
It was James on September 20th.
That makes sense. Did he have so much to say at the ADP? I was there for part of that.
Oh, he says a lot to say at the ADP.
Yeah.
And now he's the vice chair, he has even more to say.
All right. I call our special meeting of Town of Gibsons Council to order at 1 p.m. We're meeting on September 29th, 2025, and we're honored to be here on the traditional territories of the Skokomish Nation. First, we need to approve the agenda, moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The motion carries. And next we have minutes from September the 9th, 2025. We need to adopt those minutes, moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Those minutes are adopted. And next we have a bylaw. This is first, second, and third reading of our permissive property tax exemption amendment bylaw. This we need to do every year. Councillor Kroll, moving it. I'll just say and seconded by Councillor Thompson. This was brought forward for us with a report at a previous meeting that these would, the first, second, and third reading would come forward. So are there any further questions on it? All those in favor? The motion carries. And then the next bylaw is even easier because it's just for adoption. So it's a big bylaw, but it's something we've already passed for second and third reading of. I don't think has this wait been for provincial government or, is it? I'll go to staff just to explain.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Mayor. We got the approval on September 19th. I don't think Mike's on. I'll holler. None of them are on this. There we go. The approval was given on September 19th. We did receive some questions for them, but they were more for clarification. There were no recommendations or concerns from the ministry on the bylaw itself.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? That motion carries. And on to committee reports. We did have a committee of the whole where we talked about BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program. There has been, I think it came up at UBCM as we were there. There have been unfortunate announcements regarding this program, but on the good side, the Director of Infrastructure and I actually got to speak to some ministry officials about it last week in lieu of our request for a UBCM meeting. They got in touch with us through a different meeting, so I'll go to our Director of Infrastructure to update us on that.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. So unfortunately, and we were expecting around that time to get an announcement that the grant was going to be opening. Unfortunately, what we received was an announcement that they are, how are they phrasing this now? So the 2025-26 intake of the BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program is paused pending the outcome of a review of all of the Clean BC programs, which is expected later this fall. So from the conversation we had with them, we anticipate at the end of the year they'll kind of continue reviewing the Clean BC program, given where that funding is coming from kind of via the federal government. There didn't seem to be a lot of optimism about there being an opening of this same program next year, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. Maybe there'll be another active transportation grant program that rolls out that's a little bit less lucrative, but still some funding that might be coming from the province. At this point, we can't really don't know what's coming other than that this one is not. So unfortunately, that means no application for the work on O'Shea. There is a federal grant for its Safe Routes to School, so it's kind of very much in that same vein. The value is quite a bit less, so I'll be reviewing that with our infrastructure assets manager to see how well those two could align and try to figure out what we can best approach that FCM grant with. But for the time being, the O'Shea work is probably on pause until we can find another source of funding.
Thank you. And yeah, the premier was actually questioned about that during his speech on Friday. He did talk about it in this pause for this year in the context of really budget cutbacks at the province. So that's unfortunate. But I mean, he certainly didn't. I mean, he was also very clear that it doesn't mean active transportation doesn't still continue to be a priority. It's just something that they're going to continue to look at and find ways to hopefully fund in other ways and not be a download on. I mean, he didn't completely address this, but yeah, I am concerned that this could end up as a kind of a download to municipalities if the province isn't coming up with funding for to help us with active transportation projects. But we will see as they review this program. There were some other positive conversations with MOTT just around continuing to work together and seeing what they can do with their operating budget to partner with us on active transportation. They continue to work on a pedestrian safety and active transportation plan. It is a plan, yeah, through and a study from Reed and North Road all the way to Lower Road, and we particularly talked to them about safety at School Road intersection and how that could be a real focus of partnership hopefully in the near future as they talk to us more about their plan. And we keep being told the plan's going to be done soon and we can have a look at it. It's going to be an internal discussion between the town and MOTT, but council will be able to see it. But I still think they're hopeful that we can probably do that before the end of the year. So that's go ahead, Director.
Thanks, Mayor. I should just walking back a step to my comment about O'Shea Road. With the DCC bylaw being adopted now, that does open the possibility of using DCC funds to do some of the work on O'Shea Road, because that was all identified within that program. So that's another option that we'll come away with and look and see how we can maybe piece off some of the most critical parts of that and could fund that through existing transportation DCC reserves. So we'll kind of report back on that. But if there's an interest in seeing that work through outside of the grant, that's an option that could be available.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update. Any other questions from council? We will go to our next report, which is from our Director of Finance on the upcoming financial plan 2026 to 2030.
Thank you, Mayor White. The nature of this report is really to officially begin the financial plan 2026 process, and it frames for council and the community a lot of the big things that are going on financially for the town, a lot of big things that have been going on in recent years organizationally, and how that all fits in. So just working our way through the report, page 31 of 41 on the agenda. So the purpose of this report is to set out a preparation process for the 5-year financial plan 26 to 2030. And attachment A, which is page 39 of 41, shows that process. It focuses with specific dates through the end of 25. And the purpose there is to update the operating budgets and the project lists for 26. And then it goes by month thereafter with all the critical pieces, steps we have to go through in order to finally have the financial plan adopted and tax rates adopted next April. Page 3241 of the agenda in the current. So we have a live financial plan 2025-29 bylaw, and that stays in effect until next April when it's superseded with the 26 one. And it's got a 26 year in it with our general municipal budget. And that right now, without any revisions being done to it, it says that a 10.7% general municipal property tax increase would be required to balance that budget. Now that's before taking into account the value of non-market value adjustments from 2025. That's new buildings that come onto the property roll that share the taxes with everyone else, although our expectations in 2025 are low. The only other thing you note about the 10.7, well, it's the starter figure. I mean, as part of this process, we don't spend a whole lot of time focusing on years 2 to 5. We spend an awful lot of time focusing 1 year at a time. Attachment A1, which we will have a quick look at later, shows where things stand for 5 years. So still on page 32 of 41, under organizational performance, the staffing changes for 2026 will be minor, and by minor we mean maybe a position is reclassified up, like really minor, no new staff positions. And just to be clear for council, that is a mayor and CAO direction to finance. So that's the way we've been working things for at least a few months. As council is aware, the town has been, since COVID-19, has had a lot of turnover and a lot of people retiring. So it's basically being working its way, the town, through a multi-year reorganization of staffing, including their roles and work processes. And I've been here for a year, and I've certainly seen quite a bit of process in the year I've been here. But it's still going to take some time to optimize the staff roles and work processes, and which is a fancy way of saying that there's a lot more value we can deliver with the team we have. It's not about the team, it's how the team works together and who's doing what exactly. And until the time comes that all the benefits that can arise there are achieved, there isn't any immediate justification for adding to the staff complement. A second key aspect on organizational performance, which also has affected all local governments, like turnover and so on. The town has lists of approved and funded operating and capital projects. And although there's only one, and it's very small, there is one dating back to 2020. Since 2023, the town has committed to establishing a reasonable level of staffing capacity for asset management functions and capital projects delivery. So on my review of the projects in progress, the lists the town has, it's not unreasonable to expect the town's current project backlog to be cleared by 2028. I mean, there's still several big grant-funded projects in total in the $10 million range, so there's still a lot of work to do. Notwithstanding the challenges of catching up on a project backlog, I can report that staff have been really busy. There isn't a major grant funding opportunity we've missed in 2025. So right now, we've already filed applications looking for $12 million across 3 projects, and we won't know how we do on those until the first half of 2026. But if any of one of those were to hit, because they're all pretty big, the town would need to add some project management capacity at that point to deliver those projects. I'm on page 33 of 41. Asset management and climate action integration, important but not the priority focus at this time. The town fleet and waste management initiatives are now well established. Building and plan initiatives have recently increased with a focus on not only the building condition assessment, but what we can do energy efficiency wise while we're doing the sustaining capital project works on the buildings. Moving forward to page 3441 of the report under the public engagement communication header. The 2025 property tax increase of 8% and separate utility rate increases of 10% appear to be accepted by the community with goodwill. And what I mean by that is my experience working in other local governments was I always got telephone calls or called to the front counter to discuss changes with people who range from friendly to frankly irate. And I didn't find that experience in Gibsons. I did hear that there were emails and communications with people like the mayor, but there wasn't any profound, wow, people are unhappy with what's happened here. I don't yet understand how much everybody in the community knows about the town finances, but much of the increases are on account of capital, either the capital works or the staff that oversee and deliver the capital works. The need to pay for replacing the town's existing assets that are not eligible for senior government grants. That's the key part of this surge in need for capital. Gibson's infrastructure is beginning to be replaced for the first time. And what I see from the infrastructure department is certainly the ones that are assets that are clearly showing they need to be replaced are being attended to, and they seem to be taking a pretty conservative approach on their rate of replacing things. So for example, if something is in the ground and it's good for 60 years, we're not working a plan where we're automatically going to go there at year 60 and look to have the money. It might be, and it's possible we might end up going there year 50, but I mean, it's all based on the current condition assessments. And the general plan with that is there's enough projects going on that you can keep the oldest but still performing ones going indefinitely until they finally show that they need to be replaced. So people are being careful with the money, but it is a huge change to go from a slow development over, 100 years where you're gradually adding all the time, and sometimes you're getting grants and sometimes you're taking on debt, but it sort of grows at a steady pace and you're not replacing anything. It's always an addition or an upgrade. And now finally here we are where there's still upgrades and expansions and so on to do. But on the other side, it's like the last 100 years is starting to say it's time. Attachment A, I don't propose to go through it, but it is a preparation and engagement schedule. So there's a lot of council and committee meetings and very traditional ways of allowing people to engage with the budget process there. But this report also schedules in the community dialogue of the last couple of years for January, and that is one of the more successful community engagements I've been part of. And also the regional roundtable at the regional district, hopefully that will be back because it got off to a good start. There was some discussion amongst staff and the mayor on whether there was some logical survey to do this year, and the decision was not to do it this year, but to be open to something in the near future. So this report, partly because of the very changed economic environment that's arisen in 2025, suggests, well, maybe that survey might be the neighborhood walk and surveying of all the local businesses. Apparently, the town has done them in the past, but it's been a number of years since we've been out there.
Quickly, the Chamber of Commerce used to help organize that. Now we don't have a Chamber of Commerce, so we probably have to do a little more initiative, because I don't think the Sunshine Coast Chamber is picking that up. Yeah.
On page...
Scredo, also Scredo used to help, and we also don't have Scredo anymore, so go ahead.
page 35 of 41 of the report under policy plan implications. So strategic plan implications entirely focus around financial sustainability of services. Item 1 is storm drainage, number 2 is water, number 3 is sewer wastewater. Going back to number 1, lots of good research and development going on in the last couple of years as to how to best handle this one. But from a money perspective, it's relatively straightforward. Whatever the value figure is, 35 million or 50 million, there's a lot of drainage assets, some of it, but not all of it, but some of it's quite old. Unlike water or sewer, there's no setup right now to provide capital for it or to have a storm drainage reserve. So that's a gap, unfortunately. And it's still early stage, but I mean, you know, I can't even say whether 600,000 is a worst case scenario, but the figures are very large and there's still work to be done there. From a finance perspective, the water and sewer utilities have a parcel tax. Parcel taxes are for paying capital. It would look to me that the only way to proceed forward on this would be not necessarily this year, but in the near future to be establishing a parcel tax for storm drainage. Waterworth, we're working with them still. There's a model in its earliest stage, and Urban and Waterworth have agreed to do work together since they were both working on this so that we end up with a model that's reasonably accurate and reasonably complete. In water and sewer, Waterworth, in our startup discussions, basically said that it was time to rebuild the town's water and sewer models. There's been a lot of changeover and stuff in the town and at Waterworth, and there's been a lot of advances in their own application. So, of course, we said yes. So we're in the process of doing that. The initial work on the water is saying, and it's initial, but it looks as though if the town does 5 years of 10% increases and it did 1 in 25, that might get it to the level it needs. And then after that, you'd be looking at more changes in construction costs than need of refunding of funding the replacement of the existing system. Sewer is not as happy a situation. It will definitely need 5 years. And I can't say how much longer after that, but there's a lot of capital being demanded by all three. Page 36 of 41. So separate of these big capital needs, a few other key items. The overall town operations, new collective agreement came into force 2025 for 4 years. And most of the work on this was done in 2024, but still it's worth just going back to highlight a few points. So the collective agreement, 25 to 28, for those years is providing a 2% cost of living adjustment. 2%, that's not generous, it's basic. In addition, though, council agreed that, yeah, like other local governments, it was prepared to do a cost of living catch-up, and in our case, that was the years 2022 to 2024 for 7.6%, and not to pay that all in one go. It's being smoothed in over the 25-28 period. So at the end of that first bullet, you can see the figures for 25-28, 5%, 4%, 4%, 3.5%. The other key thing that council did with staff was, given the challenges of attracting the staff that the town needs to the Sunshine Coast, and to support staff retention for the people the town has and needs, council agreed that, okay, the whole town compensation structure should be at least positioned at the midpoint of similar-sized BC local governments. And so that's being worked along as well. And at the end of the second bullet there, the combined tax cost of doing both those things, 25 to 28, are 6.5% 2025, 4.7 26, 4.7 27, and 4.4% 28. So it was a big commitment on the town side, although not unfair from the labor's perspective. And the cost of not minimizing staff retention, it was too high. It had been too high for too long. Second item on here is just the RCMP contract transition. Not a small thing, but the financial preparations by the town are well advanced. So there is no need to make any dramatic changes this year. And then finally, on town infrastructure and senior government grants, it's just a highlight from a financial perspective that truly the town does not have the financial capacity itself to undertake major investments in upgrading, expanding, or building new infrastructure. We just couldn't. Senior governments have acted on their prior notice to local governments. They are simply not funding replacements. They are entirely focused on our grant applications, making compelling and often brilliant cases, we hope, on upgrading, expanding, or building new. That they're still there for us to varying degrees. So this is another element that drives the need for the town to transition to fully funding capital reserves for replacement of the service capacity of existing assets. And there are new technologies always. So as we're costing things the best we can, but who's to say 5, 10, 20, 30 years what exactly you have to do to replace the service capacity? Technology has tended to drive the prices down. So we don't have to go and do exactly the same that we did before, but we'll see what it is. Or someone will. We may not be the people here, but they'll see. That brings us just to the last thing I wanted to take a look at with council, was just page 41 of 41. This was the last working paper that gave effect to the changes. I mean, essentially council said, okay, for 2025, 8% is the maximum on the property tax. Go away and sort out the rest of this budget to make that work. Let us know what you did. We didn't do anything too traumatic on the staff side. If you look at the orange line, you'll see in 2025, 9.6%. And yet we did 8. So the difference is the 1.6% was the value of the non-market, the new properties on the property tax roll in 2025. And in 2026, you'll see there's the 10.7. And in this report proposes to be targeting, revising the 26 budget so that it would work with an 8% property tax increase, the same as last year's. And across to the right, you'll see that, things are looking a lot more favorable. The taxation amounts are down a lot. But of course, there are some things that we have been really smoothing in terms of raising the amount of capital being contributed in the budget. So I can't seriously promise that those numbers are going to arise. Capital funding may drive them higher. But you can see on 2029, the green line, which is the budget for operations, 2%. So what we're saying out, that sort of went through all these spreadsheets of all these department costs and everything, and what it's showing is, there's council saying, you can have 2% for a cost escalation adjustment in your budget. Out in 29, it's finally flowing through. And so, Mayor White, thank you for council's patience.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to just comment generally on this. We really appreciate how broadly this report connects to values of the town and regional connections too. I think that's just a really great outlook to have those kind of principles starting out with the budget process of looking at asset management and the strategic goals that the town has in our strategic plan and has pursued for many years. So I think that's a really great foundation. And I see Councillor Kroll. I also wanted to mention too. I'll just throw this in right now. Also on those regional connections, we do have a solid waste management workshop at the regional district that I won't be able to attend. I know you'll be attending, Director Wallace, and our CAO is attending. There was Councillor DeAndrade just mentioned to me that there was kind of a confusing invite that said optional for the town of Gibsons. That's not the case at all. This is an intergovernmental meeting where we're definitely expected to come just as much as any other local government. So I urge other councillors to attend that as well. Is it October it's this week, yeah. It's the 2nd, I thought, yeah. Yeah, so that's October the 2nd. I hope we can have a strong attendance there. I saw you move your mic, Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. And thank you, Director of Finance. It's a bit daunting, some of the things that we're faced with. But one of the things that I think was really positive was that community engagement session we had at the Playhouse last year. I would have liked to have seen more people there, but I think we had a fairly good crowd. It's, I think that theater holds, 148? And we had sort of 60-ish, but it's getting that information out and getting people thinking and having the people there to explain why. Most people, if they just have a figure thrown at them, it's like, ah. But if you're able to explain why, and I applaud staff for the presentations they gave, it really does sugarcoat the pill. So it may be why the Director of Finance had fewer calls and emails directed at him. So I would certainly encourage doing that again, because I thought, it was a valuable session. And as I said, staff did a great job of fending the questions, and a lot of the information that they had in their presentations, it eliminated the questions before they even needed to be asked, because the information was there. So I would encourage that we do it again.
Thank you, Councillor Kroll. Councillor Thompson.
I mirror that too, and also really appreciate the timeline that is in here with the breakdown right through into 2026. So I think that's also helpful in being able to have that forecast of activity that we're going to be following through. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and as I've said to the director before, we also really support his work in accelerating the process a little more to have some decisions to get some money out there earlier in the year, and instead of kind of pushing it back to mid-year and until we can actually make any expenditures, which has always been, I think, a frustrating process for staff. So I think this is I know a lot of work has gone into that in this past year to make that possible, and we're appreciative of that. And there are recommendations in this report, not on my piece of paper, but on my dying computer battery. Councillor Kroll?
I will move the recommendations on page 37. Oops. I'll move the recommendations on page 37.
Okay.
Do you want me to read them out?
We don't need to, as long as we have them all in front of us. Do you have them, Councillor Thompson?
I do, but there's an and or.
Yeah, that's why I want to get it to recommendations that a general cost has. And?
So I will move that and the first that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does not exceed 8% for at this point. Okay. Seconded by Counselor Thompson. All those in favor? The motion carries. And next, I'll just announce we have our next regular meeting is October the 7th at 3:30 p.m. And I will not be able to attend that meeting, so Deputy Mayor DeAndrade will be chairing that one. And now we just need to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The meeting's adjourned.